incident had actually occurred and learned that the victim's live-in boyfriend had fled with her 2 small children after assaulting the victim. During this investigation, we've had contact with suspects' family members, and we have credible information they may have fled the state with the children. We now have a felony warrant for the arrest of the suspect for the charges of kidnapping, parental abduction, and domestic violence. We believe that he is also in the company of his father, Frank Marks, aka Dino, who's a person of interest in this investigation. We've made several requests to the various family members that we've spoken to, pleading for the return of these kids, that he could drop them off at any police station, fire station, hospital, anywhere where the kids could be properly cared for and we could be contacted to bring them back to safety. So far, they refuse to do so. I want to emphasize that. The most important thing about this is the safe return of those children. In a moment, you're going to have an opportunity to ask questions of the case agent, which is Detective Christian Vaughn, as well as FBI's Supervisory Special Agent Scott Holliday. I want to emphasize that this has been a task force approach that we've taken to this investigation, working over the past, like I said, about 36 hours to try and get these kids back. And we're extremely grateful to our law enforcement partners that have assisted us in this. That would include the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Social Services, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, as well as the District Attorney's Family Justice Center. So with that, I would turn this over to Detective Vaughn, who will be happy to answer any of your questions.
Good evening. Since the onset of this investigation, as my lieutenant said, we've been working diligently with the family members and people that are close to the suspect and know the suspect. We've had numerous phone calls with people on their behalf that claimed to know of the children's whereabouts and tried to accommodate a peaceful resolution, but that has been unsuccessful. We continue to maintain open communication with people that are familiar with the family members and Josh, the suspect. And we are utilizing all of our resources, the FBI, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and all tips and following all leads to try and come to a peaceful resolution for the children. I personally have exhausted all of my investigative skill and resources to try and plead with the family to accommodate bringing the children back safely. We've told them unequivocally that they can come to any hospital, fire station, police station, and they would have safe harbor for the safe return of the children. That's what we want. We're pleading with them for a peaceful resolution to this. We don't want any harm to befall these children, but the longer this goes on, the more unknown factors we have with this situation, the more intense it's going to become, and the greater hazard it will be to the children and everybody involved. With that, I'll bring in Supervisor for the FBI, and if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Scott Holliday, Special Agent with the FBI. I supervise the Violent Crime Task Force here in Riverside. The FBI is providing assistance to the Riverside Police Department in this abduction investigation and will continue to do so until both victims are safely recovered. The FBI offers assistance in all kidnapping matters, both to provide our local law enforcement partners with resources that they may need and to coordinate with FBI field offices or legal attachés internationally should that need become necessary. Resources that we provide can include anything from technical or forensic assistance where needed to providing investigative manpower in order to assist in conducting interviews or to cover leads that may arise outside of the local jurisdiction. Clearly, we will provide all lawful resources at our disposal until these victims are found. Now I'll defer to my partners here to respond to any requests for specific information about the case. Thank you.
How is the communication with the family going? I mean, how willing are they to help out, to suggest places to look for him, contacting him on your behalf? What can you tell us about that?
That's been one of the more interesting aspects of this case. Early on, we had direct communication with the suspect's father. He identified himself as a spokesperson on behalf of the family, both on the family members in Michigan and here in California. He acted as if he had a direct link and direct communication to the whereabouts of the children and to the suspect. But after going through, as everybody said, well over 24 hours of trying to communicate effectively with him and trying to bring this to a peaceful resolution, there's no other way to explain it than they were just delaying and obstructing this investigation and seemingly trying to create a situation where we thought that the children were going to be delivered to us, only to find out that they may have been taken away. We just don't know where they're at right now, and that's why we're pleading for anybody's help and assistance, because what we want more than anything is for those children to be safely returned.
Did that man suggest that he would be able to deliver the kids to you guys, or what do you say?
Yes, he did. He actually put us at one point in direct communication with the suspect. And again, they led us to believe that they wanted the same thing. But they also had their own conditions, which I can't go too much into detail about. There were specific things that they requested and things that they were trying to dictate. But of course, we do what we do on the law enforcement side. And we have to abide by our guidelines and the laws and regulations, and we can't just do whatever they want. We explained to them that the children would have safe harbor, and whoever brought them in would not be arrested, because that's ultimately our goal, and we could worry about the criminal stuff on the back end, so to speak. But no matter what we've tried, we haven't had any credible information about the exact whereabouts of the children.
Did you speak personally with the father, or the suspect?
Briefly, yes.
How did he seem?
That's hard to say. You have to understand, there's some cultural issues at play here. There was communication with several people that were, I'll use the term room loosely. I don't know if they were exactly in a room, but we were on, if you want to consider it, a conference call. There were several people that were involved that were described to me as a type of council of elders that had to be consulted, and they were imploring us to listen to them and do things the way they wanted to. And so there were communications between them as I was trying to talk to them and try and figure out and communicate our wishes. So there was some back and forth dialogue, and at the end of the day, nothing got resolved.
People claiming to be Josh's family members online have told us that he was concerned about his girlfriend's behavior because she had been hurting herself recently, that she had filed some false charges against him, and that he took the children because he was concerned about her behavior. Is there any indication of that so far in the investigation, that that's maybe why he left with the kids?
Right now, we have one side of the story. We have a credible victim. We have children that are missing. That's not in dispute. I can say that there, based on the victim's account, there appears to be a long-term domestic violence within that relationship. Not all of it was reported. Some of it was known. Some of it was not known. We came into this incident with the situation that occurred that resulted in the taking of the children. Everything that happened before that and everything that we would talk about that might further the investigation into their relationship and those types of things will come about with the ongoing investigation. And right now, all we're focused on is the peaceful resolution and return of the children.
I know yesterday police said that because they weren't absolutely certain that these children were in physical danger, that there really couldn't be an Amber Alert issued yet, but now that it's going on 2 days now and there is that history of domestic violence between at least the boyfriend and the girlfriend, is there any more reason to believe now that these kids could be in danger the longer they're out there with these people?
Regarding the Amber Alert, I defer to my lieutenant that there's protocols in place about the conditions in which an Amber Alert can be established, and I wasn't involved in that. But I can tell you that with regard to the safety of the children and how seriously we take this, obviously, we have the FBI, my department, and the National Center for Missing Children involved. We take this very seriously, and for everybody that knows this family and may know where the family is, the longer this goes on, the more dangerous, in our eyes, the situation becomes. It's the unknown that we can't account for. We don't know where these children are. We don't know if they've already been harmed. We don't know what they're planning. So the less information we have leads us to believe that there's more danger to those children. The only way this is going to end peacefully and calmly is if they take advantage of our safe harbor and bring those children to a place where we can recover them.
The suspect doesn't have a documented criminal record in Riverside County that I could find. Does he have any DV convictions or any other violent convictions elsewhere?
I'm going to withhold information about his criminal history at this point. We do have information regarding, of course, regarding his past. We have identified that he has lived in several different states, so we're looking into various aspects of that. But I'm not going to comment on any specifics other than what we know right now about his conduct.
Is
Yes.
the suspect the biological father of the kids?
We don't know for sure. What I do know is what the victim told me. They were in a long-term relationship. It was a tumultuous relationship. They broke up. They got back together, as couples do. I do feel comfortable telling you that his family, of course, considers those children to be his children. What that means ultimately, I don't know. We have DPSS involved. That's what family courts are for. That's what paternity tests are for. I can only go at this point by what the mother is relaying to us. And that's why this is a fluid situation, and we'll learn more later.
And is the mother relaying that he is not the biological father?
Yes, that is the information we have. Again, what we find out later, after, that'll come with the rest of the investigation. Right now, as far as we're concerned, the children's welfare is the most important thing, and we do want to reunite them with their mother.
The conversation that you described with the suspect and the quote-unquote family members or elders, did they describe where they were? Were they in town somewhere, or did you believe that they were out of state? And when was the last contact you had with them?
So that part of it is very interesting. There's been numerous phone calls from family members, people that claim they're family members, people that have claimed they are spokespeople for the families. To be honest, I don't know how many of them are actual blood relatives or not. That's what's been the most frustrating part of this investigation for me personally. I've spent hours and hours on the phone trying to get someone to give us some concrete information. And to be honest, we've been led in countless different directions with no concrete results. The only thing we know for sure is that the person of interest, Mr. Marks, is an identified figurehead, in his own words, of this family. And he did put us in brief contact with his son. So he above all others is the one that can and should tell us where these children are, but he hasn't.
And when did that conversation take place?
I've spoken to him several times today, and I've also spoken to him, to people, other people that have spoken to him, that have called me on his behalf. It's all been negative results so far.
Why does the family seem to be supporting the suspect in this way?
You're speaking about the suspect's family?
Yes.
I believe that to be a cultural issue. Some of them are out of state. Some of them may not know the exact circumstances. Most domestic violence, in all cases, happens behind closed doors. Where most people may or may not know what's going on. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. It may just be the fact that they're ignorant of the true problems and the dynamics in that relationship, and they're just supporting their loved one. It could be the fact, according to family members, that they believe because of their culture that those children, regardless of who the father is, belong with their side of the family. That was expressed to us in no uncertain terms. That they've used the term gypsy several times. What that means exactly, I'm not sure. But they seem to believe that the children are within a certain family unit culturally, and they belong with his side of the family.
If Josh is now with his father, is there a reason to believe he's not in that Cadillac anymore and they're possibly traveling in a different car at this point?
I believe that to be true, yes. That car was easily identifiable. I think most people would notice it. And I do believe early on we did get some tips about the fact that they might have been driving in parts of Southern California. We haven't had any tips about that car. And if anybody saw the pictures, it's something you can't miss. So we have no reason to believe that they're in that particular vehicle now.
Do you know what other kind of car they could be in at this point?
We've had so many names, so many vehicles, so many nicknames, different places, houses attached to names that turn out to be dead ends. This investigation is fluid, and it's been very comprehensive and difficult, and we've all been working hard. We've been exhausting all resources trying to find tangible leads that we can follow, but so far, the only one that seems to know anything or claims to know anything is the suspect's father.
Would you describe this as a fairly unusual case,
Yes.
considering the cultural differences?
Yes, I would. I personally have been investigating domestic violence for 13 years. It's become my specialty, and this is fairly unique. I don't believe that I've ever spent this long and been in this type of detailed investigation that's lasted this long, involving these types of individuals.
Is there anything you've learned led you to believe that maybe this was planned before a couple nights ago, or further along?
We haven't learned anything that would lead us to believe that this was nothing other than a spontaneous event. As the investigator, having talked to the victim, I can say that because their relationship was not going well, because they had been arguing previously, because there were issues regarding the family members and pressure from the family members on his side, this was a relationship that maybe was going to end. Maybe from that aspect it was planned, but I do not believe that this was set up ahead of time. But I could be wrong. The only one that can answer that question is the suspect, and he's not talking.
Could the father be looking at potential charges?
Anyone who knew that the abduction had already occurred and who played a role in hiding the suspect and the children is looking at possible crimes of being an accessory or conspiring to keep these children. So that's something we're looking into. I'm not saying we've made any type of determination, but that could be the case. We look at all those things. Anybody who is actively helping them avoid recovering those children and obstructing this investigation, of course, we'd be looking at those types of things.
Have you ever tried to take the children before?
Not to my knowledge. The victim has expressed that she has left them in his care for short times, but not for long.
Does the victim share the same culture as the suspect?
It's my understanding that that is her background, but she does not share the same type of day-to-day cultural practices that they do. Yes.
If I could interject. I've just gotten some information from one of our detectives that's on the FBI Inland Regional Apprehension Team Task Force. It appears that the suspect, his parents, and the two children have been apprehended by Highway Patrol in Utah. So it does appear that they are in custody at this time, thankfully. So, and it appears that both children are safe.
Can you share anything else about how that happened?
Just generally speaking, we've been working with agencies regionally, knowing that, or I should say, strongly believing that the children were taken out of state. We sent out information to Highway Patrol in adjacent states to be on the lookout for the described subjects, not really being positive what vehicle they might be in, and significant resources were mobilized to try and find them along popular, routes. And fortunately, those efforts paid off, as it appears that, like I said, he, his parents, and the 2 children have been found.
So you said, and who's in the car? The 2 kids, the suspect, and the suspect's father?
The suspect's parents, yes.
The suspect's parents, mother and father.
That's the information that I have, yes.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you guys so much.
Again, thank you guys for coming out.